Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
Game was bad, but the calls were clean. That was Wayne Larrivee's call yesterday. You heard it right here in the home of the Packers. Our conversation with Wayne is brought to you by Kowal Investment Group, the retirement specialists, and Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. 3-0-3-3-0. Those are the first half points for the Green Bay Packers, the last 5 games in the first half. 10-9, 10, 27, 17. Those are the points for the other guys, the bad guys in that span. 73-9. 73-9 is the number in the first half, the last 5 games. You know, Wayne, there was a line in Animal House. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Being outscored 73-9 in the first half is no way to consistently win anything in the NFL. This is a massive problem. Good morning. Any thoughts on what the heck in tarnation is happening in the first half?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm certainly at a loss for it. Matt LaFleur apparently is, obviously. Otherwise, they would have fixed the problem. But, yeah. And you know what, guys? Yesterday's game, to me, not just because it was the Vikings they lost to, but it just seemed like, to me, they were out of the game early. It seemed like it just, I don't care what the score was, 10-3 at halftime, whatever it might have been. Kind of felt like they would have, but it really didn't. And the Vikings were moving the football against the Packers' pass defense, which statistically all season has been at least something they can hang their hat on, a top 10 pass defense yardage-wise in the NFL. But Kirk Cousins and the Vikings were slicing them up. And, that was hard to watch, that aspect of the game.
Yeah. Is there one thing the Packers could possibly grab onto as a rope to hold on to turn this thing around? What part is it? Because the defense was supposed to be able to carry them through some of the growing pains of the offense. And as you just pointed out, the defense is not doing what they are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, they're not taking the ball away nearly enough. I mean, they did get a turnover yesterday, but, it was kind of – it wasn't a significant factor in the ball game. They need to exactly, came late, and they need to get turnovers. That's number one. And that was a point of emphasis going into the game. They finally did force another fumble, but it was the first fumble they'd forced since opening day. I thought the rush defense was good. I think it's been good the last couple of weeks in terms of just what I'm seeing on the field. I think they've attacked the run much better defensively. But then again, you looked at what a passing attack at a quarterback like Kirk Cousins could do, and I didn't think they were getting a whole lot of pressure on him. And I understand Minnesota has one of the better offensive lines, underrated, but one of the better offensive lines in football. But nonetheless, that was a real problem.
Wayne, when you look at this team, obviously everyone's looking for solutions, problems, how to fix them. I think that's the biggest thing. Where would you start? What's the one thing you'd focus on? Because you can't fix everything at once, but you got to slowly chip away at it. What's the one thing you'd look at?
I think when you look at where they are and the kind of season they're in, and by that I mean they're trying to grow these young players they have on the roster. I don't think you can make a whole lot of changes. They did make a change at left tackle. Rasheed Wallace was struggling, had a couple of penalties. They put Yosh Nijman in. But I think really what you're trying to do here is develop these young players. But I think at the same time, you need to get a little bit more in the direction of Aaron Jones, who had, I think it was, 9 touches or 16 touches, 46 yards yesterday. I mean, when he gets 16 touches, I mean, he had 11 touches in Chicago at 137 yards at a touchdown. They need to get production from their key players. Rashawn Gary has to make sacks. They've got to stop the run up the middle, which they did. They've got to put pressure on the quarterback and the receivers. Young or not, you've got to catch the ball. And I think LaFleur counted 6 drops in that game yesterday. And in the words of Matt LaFleur after the game, that was hard to watch.
Well, my question is, when you look at these young receivers, right, and we're halfway through the season, that term young has to be thrown out at some point. Did the Packers maybe – I saw DeAndre Hopkins go off. Did they maybe evaluate how a veteran leader might have helped that group just a little bit? Is that something that, when you look at this, what's your thoughts on that?
I would imagine that's gone through Brian Gutekunst's mind. Perhaps I don't know, but it might be something he's considered. That maybe they should have had a veteran guy in that receiving room that might have helped a little bit. I don't know, but the whole gist of what they're trying to do here with draft and develop, they drafted these guys. Now they're trying to develop them, and sometimes those growing pains are hard to get through, and that's what they're going through right now. And the receivers, again, I don't know how you guys felt just watching the game. I don't know statistically. I'm not quoting stats here. Just watching the game, I didn't think the quarterback was putting the ball in bad places, but there was a pass down the middle that kind of highlights the whole thing. And it was a contested ball, 50-50 ball to Jaron Reed. And the Minnesota defensive back took the ball away. And that happens a little bit too often. Only once have I really seen a Packers receiver win that 50-50 ball, and that was Romeo Doubs in the end zone in Denver a week ago. You know what I mean? When he took it away from Patrick Surtain for the touchdown. That's the kind of thing, and that's part of the learning process for receivers. And Jaden mentioned after the game, to his credit, he said, I've got to attack the ball. Yeah, you got to attack the ball. You can't let the other guy take it away, and that's the key. This is what we're going through. These are the things we thought we'd go through. I don't know if to this depth we thought we'd see this, but we knew there would be growing pains, and we're seeing them right now.
Yeah, Wayne, there were obviously a lot of frustrating things in the game yesterday. And from the fan perspective, as we were watching the game, trying to piece it together, not knowing exactly what every single player was supposed to be doing, so it's just kind of the eye test of what we saw. But it sure seemed like when the Vikings were on a third down, you felt very little confidence that the Packers were going to be able to force them off the field. What is it about what other teams are finding in the Packers defense on third downs that's making it seem like they're figuring this out?
Yeah, well, the Packers were top 10 in third down defense coming into the game. I mean, they had been very good. I believe their opponents were about 34% of third down conversions. And then you bring in Kirk Cousins, a legit top 5 quarterback, at least based on the way he's playing, okay? And he comes in and just slices them up. I mean, they were, 10 of 18? What does that come out to? 55% on third downs? Wow.
Yeah.
That was surprising to me, Josh, to watch that and to see that happen, because the Packers have been much better on third downs than that. And yet Cousins and his receivers just seemed to find holes in that defense and kept getting in there, kept drilling the ball through that defense. I don't have an answer for that per se, except that I can say the Packers, for the most part of the season, have been very good on third downs and very good in the red zone. And you saw what happened when you get a quarterback having the kind of season Kirk Cousins was having. It's unfortunate about his injury, but you see what happens when when you get a guy like that. He can really slice up your defense if you're not totally on your P's and Q's.
All right, exit question, Wayne. Do you expect anything on the transaction wire for the Packers, coming or going, before Tuesday at 5?
Wow. I'm usually wrong about these things, but I would say no. I'd say all's quiet on this front.
Okay. Because they don't have a lot that could get much. They're throwing names out like Preston Smith, Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
Deshaun
Preston had a
Nixon.
couple of sacks, and boy.
If you're not going to get, my feeling is if you're not going to get a third, don't, like, an extra fifth to me is not worth it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
play the season out.
I think if you're going to give up somebody, you better get a day 2 pick, which would be top 1 through 3.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a 2 or a 3 or something like that. And I'm not sure any of those players would garner that much. They're short-term rental kind of guys. Okay, Wayne, as always, a pleasure. Great call yesterday, and we'll talk to you at the end of the week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Our conversation with Wayne